Thank you, Mr Chair. Mr Chair, we do support this bill, and as has been discussed, it is just a technical change. It was a Labor bill that was brought in 2005, and we support it because it addresses the rights of victims, Mr Chair. And I do want to touch on something that my colleague Clayton Cosgrove was discussing earlier with regards to the absence of the ACT Party in debating this particular bill. And it is concerning because so often we hear from them that it is about the protection of victims and the rights of victims, and we heard that rhetoric over and over again in relation to the Three Strikes bill. And yet when there is a genuine piece of legislation before us that actually does address the rights of victims, they are nowhere to be seen. And Mr Speaker, it's concerning because it shows it really isn't about the rights of victims or protection of victims, but for them it really seems that it's more about punitive measures for the offenders, with no real compassion for the victims fueling that. And that's something that is concerning for us on this side of the House. Now, this particular bill, it does address the rights of victims. It addresses the rights of victims with regards to compensation, with regards to any compensation that the prisoners may actually get access to. They actually will be able to make claim to that, Mr Chair. And so it does address the rights of victims, but an overwhelming concern from this side of the House is that although this legislation does do that, it is only one part of what needs to be done, and there is a lot of other things that need to be done. There is a lot that needs to be done by the national government with regards to protecting victims' rights, and unfortunately we have seen over and over again that they have failed to do that in so many ways, and one of those ways has been with their changes in policy with ACC, their failure to protect the rights of sexual abuse victims, their failure to provide the support that those sexual abuse victims require. They have let down those victims, they have let down the extended families of those victims, and it is something that this side of the House think is intolerable. And to hear them stand up and say that they support this bill because they support the rights of victims is hard to listen to, Mr Speaker, because of the fact that we know that on this hand they are supporting this bill. They have made the technical change so that it can be extended, a bill that Labor brought in 2005, and yet on the other hand there are things like ACC where they have denied victims of sexual abuse their rights to services, to the counselling that they require, Mr Speaker. So, Mr Chair, so that is the concern. And that's only one example, Mr Chair. There are other examples. And I do want to touch on the increase in crime that we've been experiencing across the country over the last couple of years, increase in violent crime, increase in crime in general. And one of those places where we've experienced that increase is Waitaki, Mr Speaker. But unfortunately, again, what we've seen is that government over there cut the numbers of police that are actually in that area by 10 police officers, Mr Chair. And it makes it difficult to comprehend how can we assist these victims of crime or stop there being further victims of crime when what we're seeing is actual cuts to the numbers of police that are available to address the call-outs, to ensure that those things don't happen or to address them when they do. And so that's another area, Mr Chair, where we've seen that government, its failures to actually protect victims, to actually avoid the increasing number of victims, and to actually represent these victims with regards to their rights, and making sure that whatever policies, whatever measures, whatever actions they take, that they are supportive of victims. But here we are. Anyway, we do support this bill, Mr Chair. We support it because we introduced it in 2005, and we know that it is a good piece of legislation, and it does do all of those things that I said the national government should be doing with respect to other areas which they failed in. It does protect the rights of victims. It does address the rights of victims, and so we are supportive of that, Mr Chair. And and happy that the national government is extending it. It is good to see them actually do something right.
Chair.